What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. So we've got a lot to cover concerning the data center today. I've been going through documents. I've been reading through some sources that people have been sending me, some residents. I've been to Clarksville to view the site, and I've built a timeline and documentation of what's going on. You may have seen on my Facebook, I've also submitted a FOIA request, and so I'm waiting on the results of that to the city of Clarksville. So let's jump right back into it. Welcome back to episode 2 of Big Tech, Small Town.
Across the country, big tech is building massive facilities.
The construction of data centers is a growing political issue in Central Texas.
A data center boom.
All right, so since last episode's airing, I've gotten a lot of messages, most overwhelmingly positive messages about the research that I'm doing. A lot of residents from Clarksville, Arkansas, they're concerned with the direction that this data center is taking. They have concerns about the data center itself, but there has been some voices that have been pro-data center. And most of those voices that have been pro-data center are people who are in the technological field as their career themselves or somewhere adjacent to that. And I just want to say right off the top of the show, I am not completely anti-technology. I am recording on an iPhone right now, using a microphone, using a computer to record this show. So obviously I'm not an anti-technology guy. I understand there's a certain amount of data centers that we need. I'm not saying in any way or claiming in any way that data centers are not necessary, okay? But I do want to kind of point out one thing. There has been accusations being thrown around and articles that have been put out that China is behind the anti-data center movement. A lot of these people that are standing up against the data centers in their communities are being fueled by Chinese propaganda. And I just want to say that through my research, first of all, I want to say I have never, to my knowledge, been in contact with, spoken to, or been an agent of, knowingly or unknowingly, any agent of China, the CCP, in any way whatsoever. I just want to state that from the very top, okay? And but they're saying it's from China. No, what I'm hearing is real stories from real people in real communities. What I shared in my first episode was people in real communities that are experiencing the adverse effects of these data centers. Their bills are going up. Their water is dirty. There's constant noise. Their electric bills are going up. These reports aren't coming out of China. They're coming right out of our backyards, right in the rural towns that we know and love. So that's number one. The other thing I want to address is that there's a big China scare concerning data centers right now. Like China's trying to undermine our data center expansion so that maybe they can catch up and outdo us, or that seems to be the rhetoric to me. So let me just put this in perspective for everybody. There are approximately 5,400 data centers located within the United States. There's only, according to the largest estimate, about 500 data centers within China, okay? That is a huge difference, okay? The United States accounts for 45% of data center technology worldwide. So I just want to put out at the beginning of this, there's not even a comparison between China and the United States. Nowhere even close. So I'm not buying in personally to this the China data center scare. That's number one. Number two, there has been accusations thrown at me that I'm biased, that I'm not out to share the truth. I just want to, chase the next story. Podcasters never want to share the truth. They just want to put out hate and discontent. Well, I do want to say at the top of the show that this podcast is not this might be the part where some of y'all want to tune out. This podcast is not an unbiased podcast. Okay. I'm not an unbiased commentator, but I would dare anybody to show me an unbiased commentator. In my view, everybody who speaks out, whether that be big companies, news companies like Fox News, CNN, CBS, MSNBC, they all have a slant, an opinion, or an agenda behind what they are saying. Independent commentators, podcasters have their own worldview, opinion, and what they believe is right and wrong that shapes the way that they view things. Now, for me, I grew up rural. I am a conservative Christian. More than anything, I'm the follower of the Lord Jesus Christ over everything. That lens, that my upbringing is going to automatically influence the way that I look at data, the way that I read data. So if that's not for you, this might not be the show for you. But I'm going to admit right off the front, I'm not an unbiased commentator, but I would dare anybody to show me who is. The second thing I want to say, going back to the people that were pro data center that are in my comment section, most of them work in technology, and I appreciate what you do. I use the technology and the softwares that you guys develop, so I appreciate that. But I just want to ask the question, when is enough enough? In the past decades, we have seen the biggest technological advancements that the world has ever seen, especially with the advent of AI and among other things. And with all of that, it just seems to never end, you know? Despite life getting easier, despite there being more conveniences, despite all of those things, depression rates have gone up, anxiety rates have gone up, loneliness has gone up, especially young people, my generation. And so at the end of the day, I don't think, a lot of people were saying, this is just the technological advancement is making life more efficient. It's making things easier. My point is, and the stance that I take morally is I don't necessarily think that easier equals better. I don't see that in the numbers when it comes to mental health, when it comes to quality of life, that easier equals better, right? At the same time, I grew up rural. I grew up in a blue collar family. My dad worked multiple jobs. We lived paycheck to paycheck. We also grew gardens and raised animals and farmed and different things like that. That's my upbringing. And most of these people in these rural communities that big tech is moving into are people that grew up just like me. I have to admit that my heart is with them. My soul is with them. I'm one of those people. In fact, I live in the city right now. I'm in an apartment right now in the middle of Van Buren, Arkansas. And I'm looking to move back up to my parents' land in rural Crawford County so that I can farm. I can do those simple everyday things, live the old style life. And most of these people in these rural communities are people exactly like me. So yes, I do have a soft spot for them. Not everybody believes that technological advancement enhances the quality of life. And a lot of people, especially good old Christian country folks like me, are content with the way that things are, and they're content with it not expanding anymore. Another thing is that there are consequences, and a lot of people have admitted this, even technocratic geniuses, that there are adverse effects of having data centers in communities. They do use a lot of water. They use a lot of energy, that those concerns are valid. I don't think that anybody is saying that those concerns aren't valid. And so those concerns exist. Those issues exist. Now we need to ask the question, who needs to bear the brunt of these issues? Who needs to take on all the extra baggage of these issues? Does it need to be the everyday working rural people that do not want this advancement anyway? Should they bear the cost of these big billionaire companies coming into their rural town where most of them have been living the rural Arkansas redneck hillbilly lifestyle for hundreds of years? Who should bear that? I don't think that they should have to bear that. And at the end of the day, I know that technology, there's a lot of good things that technology have done, but at the end of the day, people and their beliefs and their quality of life and what they believe in and the life that they want to live, everyday rural people have to matter more than billionaire tech companies and the expansion of big tech. We already account for almost half of data center technology worldwide. We have great technological advancements, and I don't think we have 5,400 data centers across the United States just so my aunt can search up recipes on Google. There's a lot more going on with these data centers than just so people can make their Google searches, okay? And a lot of people aren't happy with the direction that technology is taking, and I sympathize with that. So I just wanted to say that right at the top of the show. And with that, I can segue into the documents that I've collected concerning the data center going in Clarksville. And I have put together that also in a Google Slides show. And you can access that, the Google Slides, like I did the last time. I'm going to put it in the link in the bio or the description of this video so that you can follow the sources yourself. But let's walk through these documents and my findings, my updates as of right now. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Y'all, I'm working as a one-man show. So, okay, now let me change the view, slideshow. Okay. Investigation updates. So, I always like to try to follow the who, what, when, where, why, and how whenever it comes to these things. So, where is the data center site? The data center site is located between Big Danger Road and Palmer Road in Clarksville, Arkansas. It's next to the Johnson County Regional Medical Center. And I was getting a lot of sources that I have in Clarksville were expressing their concern that the data center was being built so close to the medical center. And if you look right here, there's the medical center right there to the west of the site. And this is the Johnson County Health and Rehab. And so there's a lot of people expressing concern as people that had family members either in the hospital or especially in this rehab facility that are especially concerned about the data center going in so near to their family, where their family members are staying. So the reason we know that's right there, number one, I was just down by Clarksville this week and drove by and looked at it, but also because of the parcel documents that is found at arcountydata.com. You can go and look at these documents online. I've provided the parcel numbers there above each one. There's actually two parcels purchased for the development of this data center site. There was the western parcel that ran along adjacent to Johnson Regional Medical Center, and then the parcel that went all the way to Big Danger Road right here. Palmer Road runs right here, and right here's Big Danger Road. And so this is I'm going to be referring to this one as the east parcel, and this one over here as the west parcel going forward. But that's all the documents backing that up. And this is a video that I took of me visiting the site. I don't know if I got the audio to be able to play or not for you guys, but this is me driving by the site this last weekend. Here's the view looking north out my driver's side window. And so you could just see what kind of area it was, and it's just been leveled. It's just been absolutely leveled. Okay. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. Who bought the land? So the company that bought the land, those two parcels of land to develop this data center, is called SF Arc 1 LLC. And it appears that the two parcels of land were owned by a family by the last name of Reese. And I'm just going to pause here and say, if you are a part of the Reese family, or you know the Reese family and you can get me in contact with them to kind of get their angle on how they sold this property and what they were told about selling this property, I would love to connect with you. I want to get a hold of the Reese family if they're willing to talk, and I don't want to harass them if they're not. But if you're a member of the Reese family and you know about the selling of this property, and you want to get a hold of me and tell me your side of the story, please email me at zachreardonmedia@gmail.com. So the two parcels of land were owned by a family by the last name of Reese. The two parcels were sold to Vaughn Property Group, LLC on October 28th, 2025. The very next day, the two parcels were sold to SF Arc 1 LLC. So it appears to me that Vaughn Property Group acquired this land from the Reese family, and by me just looking at it, and I'll show you the documents here in a minute, it seemed like Vaughn Property Group in my opinion, so I'm just going to say allegedly, it looks like Vaughn Property Group most likely already had a deal with SF Arc 1 LLC to sell this land to them for the purpose of developing this data center. And there's more to back that up later that I'm going to get into here. So this is the sales history records for the west parcel of land. You can see here, the land was originally owned by Harriet Reese, and then the land passed through the Reese family, either all in one piece or in multiple pieces, or they own different percentages of the land. There might have been a death in the family. I'm not an expert at reading these records, so if there's anybody that does know how to read these records correctly and can give me more information on how to read these right, please reach out to me at my email, zachreardonmedia@gmail.com. And then this is the date that I'm concerned with here. So on the 28th is when the Reese family sold the entire property to Vaughn Property Group right here on October 28th, 2025. The very next day, the Vaughn Property Group LLC sold it to SF Arc 1 LLC. So that leads me to believe that there is a connection between these two companies prior to Vaughn Property Group acquiring the land from the Reese family. So this is for the west parcel. It's the same exact story for the east parcel. The records are basically identical on both parcels. So then I wanted to look into what is Vaughn Property Group LLC. It's a company out of Chantilly, Virginia. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. The company was founded in 2018. The owner is John Vaughn, and I can't find a website for this company. And so because I couldn't find a website for this company, I just started searching Vaughn Property Group LLC. I started reading about them on different realty pages. And what struck me as the most interesting is I found them on a website called Construct Connect. And I'll talk more about finding them on Construct Connect later because it gave me a lot more information. But the first thing I wanted to know is, what is Virginia, because this Vaughn Property Group LLC, it's out of Virginia. What is Virginia's relationship like with data centers? Does it have any relationship with data centers? That may or may not be relevant, okay? I'm not saying it has to be relevant, but I just kind of was curious and wanted to know. So I searched up what state has the most data centers. And Virginia is the state in the United States has the most data centers in it. Okay. It's number one for containing the most data centers. And here's my Google search from that. And also Chantilly, Virginia in particular hosts 160 data centers within its city limits, according to this Google search. So may or may not mean anything. I just found that super interesting. So here's Vaughn Property Group that I found on Construct Connect since they didn't have a website. You can see here, Vaughn Property Group LLC, and I found them. Construct Connect, I work construction with my dad. That's what I do as my full-time job. And we use Construct Connect to find commercial jobs and bid on them because we're general contractors. So Construct Connect is kind of a place where general contractors, subcontractors, and project managers, developers, and builders can connect on jobs and win bids and things like that. So Vaughn Property Group put out this job right here down at the bottom. They listed their role as the developer, and the project name is Server Farm Arc 1 Data Center Development. They listed themselves as the developer of that project in Clarksville, Arkansas. They listed they were in the pre-construction phase, and the date this was listed was April 1st, 2026. But you see this right here, Server Farm Arc 1 Data Center. Okay, let's go back here. SF Arc 1 LLC. SF stands for Server Farm. ARC is for Arkansas, 1 LLC. So another question now that I have, actually, that I'm just seeing now as I'm looking at it is, if there's a Server Farm ARC 1, does that indicate that there are going to be other projects, like there's going to be a SF ARC 2, ARC 3? That's just a question I'd like to know. But now we know that SF stands for Server Farm ARC 1 LLC. And so what is Server Farm? Right? We want to know what Server Farm is. Let's talk about SF Arc 1 LLC. It's leadership. The managing member is Avner Papachado, founder and CEO of Server Farm, a data center developing company out of El Segundo, California. Server Farm focuses on developing high-performance AI-ready data centers across North America, Europe, and the Middle East. So this is a well-renowned California AI data center developing company, and that's all off their website, Avner Papachado. You can find his bio on the serverfarmllc.com website. So SF Arc One LLC is either a subsidiary or is in some way connected to the business Server Farm LLC out of El Segundo, California. This is SF Arc One LLC's corporate details. Filing number 811575412. You can go to soscorpsearch.arc.org and find all of this information online for yourself. You can see corporation name SF Arc One LLC. Filing number, it's a foreign limited liability. They say it's foreign because it's out of the state of California. The registering agent is Capital Corporate Services, Inc., and you're going to see that come up again in some later information that we're going to get into. This is their agent address. That's where Capital Corporate Services, Inc. is. And here's the officers, Avner Papachado, managing member. And Kevin Dillard is the CFO, and Kevin Dillard is the incorporator organizer. I assume Kevin Dillard is with the Capital Corporate Services, Inc., the agent that registered this in Arkansas. A foreign name is SS Arc One LLC. And the foreign address is that 444 North Nash Street, El Segundo, California. But the state of origin for this business is, look right here, Delaware. So that means that this LLC was originally started and filed in the state of Delaware. Interesting. So I went to the state of Delaware's records and found the business entity details on the Delaware state site. All of that's there, so you can search it for yourself. SF Arc One LLC, limited liability company. It's domestic there. That means that's the domestic place where it was started. That's where it's out of. Capital Services, Inc. also is the registered agent for that one as well. The one in Delaware. So yeah, there's that. Server Farm LLC. I searched their business name in California, okay, because we've already seen that SF stands for Server Farm, and that the CEO and founder of Server Farm serves as the owner of SF Arc One LLC. So obviously it's either like a subsidiary or some sort of connection. I'd like more details on how these two businesses are connected exactly. So if there's anybody who can read these documents better than I can and has a better understanding of how these two businesses are, either one's a subsidiary of the other or how they're connected, I'd love for you to email me, zachriordanmedia@gmail.com. So I wanted to learn more about Server Farm LLC. So I went to the California state records and I searched Server Farm LLC. Their records are a little bit more vague. You can see here that there is Server Farm LLC and then there's Server Farm Holdings LLC. I assume that the Server Farm Holdings is the main holding company that holds Server Farm LLC, but then again, I'm just a country boy. I don't know exactly. I'm just reading these to the best of my ability. So there's the information of Server Farm, but you also see here that the state of origin for Server Farm LLC is also Delaware. So I just find it interesting that all of these filings all are out of Delaware, even though the businesses themselves are exclusively operating in other states, and that their mailing address is in California, and then SF Arc One LLC is functioning in Arkansas. So what is about Delaware where they're running all of these LLCs through Delaware? That's something else I would like to know, and that I'm going to continue to look into. But here's the Server Farm LLC filing in Delaware. You can see all the information there. Server Farm LLC. Also, the Server Farm Holdings LLC is also registered in Delaware, and I forgot to pull that screenshot, but it's basically looks identical. They're all connected to each other. It's pretty much the same company, owned by the same people, run by the same people. It's the same. Okay, let me see here. Oh, that's the end. That's all I have on that. So what I have done is I have put together, of all of the findings that I have found, a clean Clarksville data center project timeline. So you start with October 28th. The Reese family sells the data center site to the Vaughn Property Group, a company out of Chantilly, Virginia. The Vaughn Property Group sells the land to SF Arc One LLC, a company originally registered in Delaware that is connected to the California company Server Farm and is managed and owned by Server Farm CEO. And then April 1st, 2026, the Vaughn Property Group lists the data center project on the Construct Connect labeled Server Farm Arc One Data Center Development. Vaughn Property Group is listed as the developer. So this is what we know. Vaughn Property Group and Server Farm LLC are collaborating to develop this data center. According to Server Farm LLC's website, the main data centers that Server Farm develops is hyperscale AI data centers. So that gives us a good indication of what kind of data center this is going to be, even though there hasn't been a bunch of that information released yet. That's the business they deal in, is pretty much AI data centers. What I'm going to continue to do, I have submitted a FOIA request to the city of Clarksville, Arkansas, to get more official documents and information on how this project was proposed to the city, how it went through the city channels. I'm getting a lot of reporting from my sources in Clarksville that there may have allegedly been some behind closed doors dealings and NDAs and all sorts of stuff like that. And I'm going to sort through all of that honestly and present the receipts on that as well. I'm also going to continue to look into the business Server Farm LLC out of California, because I was kind of, right before I started recording this episode, looking into Avner Pompatuo, or whatever his name is. I'd have to go back and look, and trying to see his history and where he came from. And he's got some connections to some other big corporations and companies, and Server Farm LLC itself has some super connections to other big companies, including Server Farm has connections to real estate, has a lot of connections to the Middle East. And so I'm sorting through all of that as well, and I will have more information on all of that next week. By the way, and I always say this at the end of every episode, and I'm going to continue, I can't do all of the research on my own. I do work a full-time job, despite some comments that I'm getting on my data center stuff saying that I must have some hidden wealth. I'm actually going to take a picture with my wife's phone of the phone that I record this podcast on, because the back of my iPhone is cracked and it's almost falling off. And I'm so poor I can't afford to get another phone to record it on, and I also don't have a camera. So I just have a simple $50 microphone, an old laptop that I used in college, and a cracked phone, and a $20 studio light that I use to record this. So I'm in no way have any secret wealth, but I need help, your help researching. If there are anybody out there has information on Server Farm LLC, on SF Arc One LLC, on how these businesses are connected to each other, if you have any information on any of that, please email me, zachreardonmedia@gmail.com. If you are a Clarksville resident, I'm starting to email back and forth with the city to acquire documents, including I requested plans and architectural plans for the data center itself, so I can look through and see exactly how it's going together, the specs of it, including city council minutes, all of those things. But if you are in the city of Clarksville and have any information on any of this, please email me, zachreardonmedia@gmail.com. If you're anybody, if you're a part of the Reese family or connected to the Reese family, and they are willing to give me the story of how they sold their land to Vaughn Property Group and what that experience was like, please email me, zachreardonmedia@gmail.com. And please, if you figure out that the Reese family does not want to talk, I want to urge you, do not or keep urging them to talk. We do not want to harass them. Just leave them alone. Maybe they want to. So I will see all of you next time. I can't wait to get into all this information. Keep following me on my socials, because I'll be posting little updates here and there on my social media. And I will see you all next time with more information on Big Tech Small Town Episode 3. See y'all later.